We probably want to wait on the recording until we start officially. I don't know if anybody can hear me. Can we stop?
There we go. Do y'all keep an unofficial list of who's on Zoom? If we have anybody that's not a regular member?
If they were to come in on, like via public comment, we would definitely have a list of that, because that would be on our.
If you'd like to go ahead and start. Great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. No changes to the agenda. Is there a motion for approval of the meeting minutes from last month?
I
So
move we
moved.
approve the meeting minutes from last month.
Okay, I think that was a motion by Elliot. I'll take yours, Brandon, as a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. I can't see everybody in the room, but is there anybody there for public comment?
No.
Okay. And I don't see anybody online. So we will move along. Unfinished business to the FY26 budget. I know that the Administrator Brandon, sent along, I think, what appears to be a revised FY26 budget, just to remind everybody from our conversation last month, that we asked the staff to go back to start to revise, make some revisions or create a Plan B budget, given the fact that we've had obviously less than expected revenue in the previous fiscal year, and want to be prepared to operate as adjusted should these trends continue. And I know we'll talk more during our financial update from Cox Holiday. But I don't know, Brandon, if you wanted to walk through the updated Plan B budget.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I'm actually really glad that we are doing this Plan B budget. The fact is that things that have changed, the landscapes of kind of public health has changed a little bit recently. The things that have stayed the same, however, is we are still getting our state aid revenue of $542,1 from the state. The things that you'll notice that may have changed here is we do not have family planning on our budget anymore. And we also do not have our CDC infrastructure grant on there anymore. Those are currently very much up in the air, and we cannot rightly operate with the understanding that we would receive that if that's still a situation that we don't know. We have, looking over the financials of what we've received so far this year or in this fiscal year, kind of made some minor adjustments with our expected budget as well. So under testing now, we due to the fact that there is no family planning within the budget, private testing, meaning STI treatment, things of that nature, roughly $3,700 is what we received this year based on for those, and also about $3,000 from testing for TB from private copays, which would leave our testing revenue roughly $6,700. Our medical fees for service, that would be anything from coming into see for Hep C, or also our STI, those extra fees in there, is roughly $16,000 is what we've made this year. And so we're going off of that as well. Immunizations is actually one of the ones that we make fairly decent amount of money on as a revenue stream, due to the fact that we roughly got $180,000, give or take. And we've only spent $74,000 in vaccine expenses. So that is actually a net profit for us, or net surplus for us in our revenue stream. We are still expected to get the immunization state grant. That is the only state grant that I know of that we're expected to get. And that's going to be cut though from for this next fiscal year, due to the fact that the state had put COVID funds into our immunization grants statewide. With that being said, that actually stopped paying for Q4 of this previous fiscal year. And that cost us about $15,000 that we were expecting to get and we did not receive. So it would drop us down to about $26,000 for the state contract. That would be pre-COVID financials.
Real quick,
Yes, sir.
just to stop you, the testing, the clinical service fees and immunizations, all of those amounts are carried forward kind of based on trailing 12 months.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. No assumptions of growth at all, just this is what it was.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting you mentioned that, Brandon, because I was just looking at when I was looking at the financials, looking at the end of year, so as of June 30th, and I know those financials aren't final, is that we're showing 145 as of the end of the fiscal year 25, but then I'm seeing the private copay immunizations at 180 in this budget.
I apologize. I was not looking at, I was looking at a different, I did not look at the same report. When I was trying to make this budget, I was looking at a different one off the books, profit and loss year to date, based on categories. And so they broke that up with, there's about 4 different immunizations options under that category, and then also influenza. So trying to do the math on that one, I may have messed up the math options on that. I do apologize. May have doubled up on something if that was the case.
Okay. Yeah, that was just sort of the one thing that I saw different. Again, you might be rolling in numbers that I'm not, like, I'm just looking at the line item on
ma'am.
page, in the June 30th, page 1, financial report. It's the private immunizations other. But again, so we had budgeted, it looks like $306,000, which, as you mentioned, the COVID one, I guess that's where the COVID numbers maybe didn't, the dollars didn't come in. But then looking at 145,000 was the actuals for the
And
fiscal
that's
year.
before the write-off. So I'd use the net of 124 for that.
Yeah.
Understood. Where was I? Oh,
The
environment, thank you. I'm also adjusting the contact, so
Oh,
I'm looking, yeah.
so sorry.
So based off a lot of the information here that we have for environmental as well, for this year, we did see a rise in a lot of the environmental, the numbers that the environmental has done. So roughly $45,000 in services and fees, $350,000 in permits were given out, $6,080 in our health contracts and food cards, roughly 20,000. Now that the 20,000, I will say, is a little fluctuating, that could fluctuate a little bit. Just in the mere fact that we have seen an increase in food vendors, trucks and things like that. And those fees in and of itself can fluctuate a little bit. We can be a little higher or possibly a little lower, based on things like events, where food trucks are coming out to those areas. Our federal threat prep grant, we are still expected to receive that. I'm actually working on the grant currently. That is still $107,620. Our quick response team grant, we are still expected to receive that grant. That fiscal year, that though does run a little awkward from our fiscal year. That runs September 1st through August 30th, where our previous, so the end of that grant would actually be Q4 at the beginning of our fiscal year, if that makes any sense at all.
So will it get booked? Sorry, I know this is getting in the weeds here.
Yep,
So
you're
with
fine.
the QRT and understanding the federal government runs on a different fiscal schedule than we do, fiscal year schedule than we do. So if it comes in, whatever, between now or whenever it comes in, does it get booked back to fiscal year 25 or does it roll into fiscal year 26?
It should roll into fiscal year 26 because it's coming in during quarter 1 of fiscal year 26.
right? So again, like our numbers are off
August.
because like part of our deficit again is that quick response team money. So we budgeted 103. We've received 78,000 of it. So we're 25 almost $25,000 shy on that. So should we be adjusting again from a budget perspective reflective of those timing differences? So should we be budgeting 78,000 even though we know the total grant is 103, but because it straddles two fiscal years
Uh,
for our own purposes, should we be reflecting our budget differently?
I think we could do it either way, honestly. To be 100% here is, the fact is that, yes, we are operating a fiscal year of 1 July, and this fiscal year is operating as 1 September for the QRT grant. But again, when I bill out for Q4, that would still fall under Q1. That would be budgeted numbers. It
Like I'm
Yeah,
looking
I'm
at
afraid we'd be off. Does that make any
yeah.
sense? I'm afraid
Well,
our numbers would be off even more so in one area than,
how so? Because I mean, right now we're showing, and again, I know these are preliminary numbers for the end of the fiscal year, is that we're showing us a deficit of $282,000.
yes, ma'am. And so at the end of the fiscal year, that also, so that for us, that constitutes as 1 July, start of it. With that QRT grant that was not billed out in Q4, that would have been received or should have been received by somewhere around September and October. So that would have constituted as money within this fiscal year.
Okay,
It
but it's still off. Like
is still off.
we're still showing like we're budgeting 100 and whatever thousand, but we're only receiving technically 78,000.
Yes, we only received 78,000 via that grant currently. The Q3 has actually been billed out, and we are waiting to receive that as well. Unfortunate aspect of dealing with the state and things of that nature, they take their time when paying out sometimes. But with that, it's an area that if we only budget a certain amount, because we're going to kind of flow over to fiscal year, so either we're going to receive money that we're not a lot expected to receive at the beginning of the fiscal year, and we're not accounting for that, so we'll see an inflation in the budget that may not be properly correct, or it would still be correct in a sense that it's all financials coming in. It's still the same kind of amount that we're expecting. It's a very, again, I think we can do it either way. I just worry that we may be looking at things. We may see a weird inflation in an area that we weren't expecting. If that makes any sense.
I think that it has to stay the way that it is, Karen, because that is expected revenue in that grant that has been approved. But following through, we're still on a cash basis of actually when that is received and when the bills are paid. So I think that the way it's being handled is probably technically correct. It's just one of those things that the area is kind of gray when it spills from one fiscal year to the other.
Yeah, no, and like again, I deal with that at work too. But you know, again, there's these substantial chunks of money that I think are contributing to how our surplus, or excuse me, our deficit is represented, even though on a cash basis it's not.
Yes, you are correct. Again, being in a situation that we are strictly grant funded, and we're at the whims of each grant and each entity within the state or the federal government on receiving this money, and their timelines for submission, along with their whims of paying out, it is a very awkward situation in some cases. Currently we are, and we can go over this whenever you want with, as far as the money that is still out, that is expected out of that deficit from fiscal year 25.
So I have a technical question for the accountants in the room and on the thing. There are three build, and you correct me when I'm wrong, three areas. One is the third quarter of the current QRT grant, which we've already realized the expense and you've invoiced it.
Correct.
Is that showing up in our accounts receivable?
Not yet.
And so the question is whether that should be in our accounts receivable already as an invoice. And then we also have money for threat prep and the CDC infrastructure grant, which have similarly been.
They've been built out, yes.
And so maybe those are three things which total about $100,000, which should be actually showing in our accounts receivable.
It's gonna show up as revenue and in the accounts receivable the day you bill it, I would think.
Yeah, so that may be,
So when did you bill them?
So,
Maybe let's walk through each of those three.
so the threat prep grant, there's actually 2 quarters in there that we are rebilling. That's been an issue. It was a mistake as far as, we didn't have the grant change. The grant change was not sent to us when I billed it out. They had to send the grant change, I had to sign it, submit it. And then now we have to rebuild that out.
Mhm.
Then the Q4 for the CDC infrastructure grant actually got built out June. Actually, no, it was built out July
it's just
2nd.
So that's not included. That wouldn't
Correct.
be included in the June preliminary.
Correct.
And it sounds like the first one,
The threat prep.
right?
Um, again, that's if it's on there or not, I'm not totally sure.
Yeah.
And then also what did you say?
I mean, let me just ask an accounting question. So it sounds like for the second one that was billed July 2nd, that really was revenue that should have been booked in fiscal year 25.
That is revenue for fiscal year 20.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, is there a potential within the books to reflect that before we close the month?
Yeah, you can redate that
Okay,
if it needs to be in 25. If you're redating in QuickBooks, then I can pull those reports.
Okay.
And it'll show up as revenue.
okay, perfect. Perfect, and we can definitely do that then.
Yeah, and how much is that?
The threat prep grant,
The second one, yeah.
I'm sorry, the CDC infrastructure grant, that would be roughly 53,810.
Okay, so that's
stuff.
now 230. The first one, it sounds like it was billed originally months ago, and then you kind of rebuild it under the new grant form. Correct me if, I mean, I'm.
Yes, sir, yes,
So that's probably in there for fiscal year 25 already.
I hope so. I will double check for that. If it's not, then we'll make sure that we get that in there properly then.
Yeah, I'm not seeing how that's gonna, that seems like it's already in the books. What about the third one?
The third one is the, quick response grant. And that was also, so that was recently built out. That was roughly $49,358 and some odd cents. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I put that one in QuickBooks properly.
Okay.
That one would have been on me for that one.
And that's fiscal year 25
Correct.
revenue as well.
Correct.
So there's still an opportunity to put that in
Yes.
and reflect that in Q4. You said it was 49,000?
Yes,
So what are we to 170, give or take?
yes. Along with the loss of Q4 of the QRT grant of fiscal year 24. That falls under the first quarter of us. That was roughly, I think that's a whole cycle, so roughly $50,000 there that was not billed. That would have been under revenue stream for us this quarter, this fiscal year. We lost $15,000 in immunization grant that they had a cease and desist from the state on. as well for Q4 that we could not bill out for.
Hmm.
We did have a little bit of overexpenditure that wasn't expected due to our sanitarians going to school. That was roughly $40,000. Oh, so sorry. I hope everybody heard me. So that was roughly $40,000 of unexpected expenditure as well. That kind of impacted our deficit. And then we lost one of those sanitarians. So
Mhm.
there was, again, unexpected expenditures, unexpected cuts from the state. And prior to me coming in, there was unexpected non-billing of grants that have impacted what is our deficit currently this year.
Okay. So, I mean, so there's still some, obviously, the June 30 are still preliminary, so we'll have a better vis vis visibility into it next month, especially with some of the changes discussed here, making sure that they're reflected in FY25.
Yes, ma'am.
The other question I have with this revised budget is, are we anticipating any kind of cash outlay needs for moving to the new facilities, the new county facilities?
No, we are not expecting any expenses on that end. The county is supposed to be setting us up, doing all of the maintenance work, setting up the structure of our offices and the facility there. They should be also taking care of the move of equipment that we are taking, things like our patient beds, our tables and computers, networking stuff, those items. So that should all be covered via the county for that move.
Any other questions from the group on the revised budget or on the Plan B budget? I don't know that we need to finalize it this month. We can wait till the preliminaries of June 30th or actually actuals at next month's meeting, unless anybody feels compelled that you think we should accept these today, this updated budget today.
No, I agree with you. Let's wait for fiscal year 25 to finish, get actual performance for fiscal year 25 locked, and then compare that to the alternate budget to see where the variances are.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and to that point, Brandon, sorry, board member Brandon, for for administrator Brandon, if you could, if you can share this with us and put this on the agenda again for next month, but also provide us the original budget plus this budget, so that we have the side-by-side comparison
Yes,
easily
ma'am.
accessible. That would be great.
Yes, of
Thank you.
course.
All right, let me pull up the agenda. And thank you for putting this together.
Yeah.
Of course.
We'll be moving on to new business with the fiscal year 26 program plan. Thank you for giving me a little extra time to take a look at it. I don't have any material adds or suggestions to that. I do still think it is a really good document that the team put together that helps explain all of the work that this unit, this governmental agency does within the community. And I think will be a great document to share with state lawmakers, our county commission lawmakers, and so forth. So, if you need I don't know, Dr. Reedy, do you need an approval for this so that you can send this along to the state?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Does anybody else have any other things to talk about on this program plan, or I'd entertain a motion if there aren't any conversations.
I move we approve the fiscal year 26 activities plan as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Real quick before I vote, you want in the discussion section, it sounded like Dr. Reedy did have something to discuss.
Yes, there was an earlier part that was other than the activities report that had a listing of who our staff was and And now that we have a budget, that we can, that's part of it, but it's mostly a lot of demographics. It doesn't talk so much about plans except how many environmental stuff, but this narrative piece that you're approving right now, that's a separate piece. The other piece you had seen in May. So
Mhm.
it's just gonna be updated with a few changes.
Okay,
You good, Brandon?
yes,
Can you say aye?
aye.
please?
Thank you, Dr. Eden.
Motion passes. All right, now on to financial update if we haven't talked enough about financials.
No, you haven't.
Yeah.
All right, May financials. So as of the end of May, you are 92% through your fiscal year. You have a bank balance of 387,620. We're going to take our reserve amount, which is 367,262, to be in compliance by about $20,000 in May. May's revenue was 145,000. Subtract salaries of 162,000 and operating expenses of 30,000 for a deficit of 97. The fiscal year to date, you're at about just under 1.4 million in revenue, which is down about 7% of your budget. 1.2 million in salaries, which is up 5%, and operating expenses of 344,000, which is up 6%, for a deficit of 197,000 in May. Accounts receivable was at 246,894 in May. You did have West Virginia Treasury, which accounted for over 10% of that at 78,000. And the remainder are as listed at 168.
Thank you for putting in the over 360-day grouping.
You're welcome. Yeah, I thought that would be a little easier for y'all to see.
Mhm.
All right, questions on the May financials?
Maybe just what actions and activities are underway on that $50,000 over 360.
Oh, when it comes to that, we are working with, to write that. At 360, I think with a lot of those, the insurance plans, we won't be able to receive those, due to the medical insurance not being willing to pay those out. That would end up being a write-off.
Has that been accounted for in the preliminary or the Plan B budget?
That does a little bit, that is in there as well. It actually kind of pumps up to our operating expense is where I,
So it is kind of accounted for in Plan B
Right.
budget.
correct, if you notice the operating expense went up to 370 from 320,000. So that covers about the rough $50,000 in
Okay,
write-offs.
all right, thank you.
And
So in the operational expenses, because they were up, I think you said 7% over budget. I'm assuming like the sanitarian training that you talked about, the 40,000 that we had to spend, that's reflected in operating expenses.
That is correct. We are hoping that we do not have to send anybody to school, but we did lose a sanitarian as well that we are needing to replace. So that would be a bit of a factor in the operating expenses. However, I'm also looking in depth at our operating expenses where we are spending some of that the cash flow there, things like office supplies, that area to narrow down where we can adjust that. If there's simple plans to make adjustments that wouldn't really necessarily impact us too much, but also help our operating expense budget.
Yeah, because like even looking at, sorry, and I keep belaboring the preliminaries of the June 30th numbers, but that's sort of the best numbers we have to work off of for this conversation. And that is, so we've got operating expenditures in this Plan B budget at 370, yet our numbers for the fiscal year end is at 354. At best, can we do a flat year over year on our operating expenses, or what's the anticipated increase that you're accounting for even in this Plan B budget?
So there is a little bit of increase there as well, due to the fact that there is, inflation involved. Things increase in costs. Sometimes they even decrease. We never really know. Personal opinion, I'd rather be a little bit over budget on the operating expense and not be and end up being under than being under and being well over. That's where I kind of come up with my operating expense reasoning for that increase. Yes, we could flatline it at 355. I think you said it's 354 year to date. However, I'm also worried though about certain increases in things like medical supplies, anything like that with inflation that we could run into.
Yeah, if we're ending at 354 and you're baking in a little bit of inflation, then to me, that sounds like the 50,000 potential write-off for next year isn't there. Maybe there's a portion of it there. Just something, I think to be thinking about.
Yes, sir.
Is any of that $50,000 collectible or an attempt to be collected, and what kind of appetite would there be to go after? I know, and I'm speaking on behalf of, I don't want to speak for other members of the board, but in the past, there has been discussions about potentially going after that at the individual level with liens and things like that. I think there's a lot of optics and a lot of reputation impact to that. But I think it's just something that needs to be on the radar, kind of, whether that's a discussion with the commission or I don't know, but it's possible with enough effort and attention that some of that could be collectible. Is it worth it? That remains to be seen. And if not, making sure that there's an accounting for it, because that will impact fiscal year 26. We don't want to keep carrying that on the books.
And that is very correct. And the other thing I will say to that is I feel like if you notice our billing has gotten much better. Since I've been here, it's gotten much better. Our numbers for 30, 60, and 90 days have actually, I believe, have dropped a little bit there. So with that, we do have in place a plan to not be in this situation in the future.
Yeah.
So my hope, my estimate is that we are not going to see something like $50,000 in a 360-day non-collected area. My plan is that we don't really see that much in 180, given the fact that we also know how insurance is.
Yeah, that's what I was been my next thing. That 27,000 can
Yeah.
quickly become over 360. So I was focused there.
And we have been making great strides and steps for our billing, which I feel is something that may not have necessarily been invested in previously. That is a need, because we are changing, we are getting better, we are adapting to the landscape that is this place, and the nature of the beast when it comes to health insurance. And I think we are making great strides in that. And I think it shows that when it comes time for, if we're looking at it this time next year, I don't think we're going to see anything like $50,000 in a 360-day mark.
Okay. Yeah, it's no small task. So thank you for prioritizing it.
Yes. Yeah. And while I have the opportunity, I do want to shout out Jenna Burke, who has been doing our billing, is the reasoning why we're getting so much better at it. And she has been delving into this and making it a top priority, and it shows. And it's awesome.
That's great.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Somebody have something?
I just said thank you.
Okay. All right, let's review the June financials before we do the vote on the May, please.
So at the end of June, you were 100% through your fiscal year. You have a bank balance of about 430,000. Subtract the reserve amount of 447, you are out of reserve by 16,000. June financials, your revenue was 22,000. Salaries, just under 98,000. And expenses, about 9,000, for a deficit of 84,780. Fiscal year to date, your revenue is 1.4 million, which is down 13% of your budget. Salaries 1.3 million, which is up 5%. And operating expenses 354,000, which is up 1% of your budget. Accounts receivable is at 126,500. No one client had 10% of that. So everything was just individuals and small grants.
Any questions on the June numbers? Is there a motion to accept the May financial reports?
Yeah, I move we accept the May financial reports.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I think I saw Elliot's voice, mouth form an aye. All right, the motion passes. Thank you. All right, sorry, I'm flipping between screens here, guys. Bear with me. All right, we're going to move on to our agency activity report, starting with environmental.
So for the month of June, we did see a sanitarian departure. In the exit interview, the feedback we received was that the sanitarian was moving to the Berkeley County Health Department for the same role because of salary. They were offering a $5,000 pay increase and we were unable to match that salary differential for her. So she did move to Berkeley County. That leaves us with 3 current sanitarians as well as a threat preparedness coordinator who's filling in the gaps for us. Thank you, Brandon. And we continue to operate. We did see for the first time more than 100 inspections completed in 1 month. So I was so happy to see that number.
Yeah, I was glad to positive.
Thank you so much. Thank all of the sanitarians' hard work. With the we're starting to see the well and septic program regulate a little bit back down to what our 12-month average looked like. Our applications were lower, but what we are seeing is the beginning of all of the permits that we have issued in the last 3 months. The installers are starting construction on those, so we are going to see potentially a good bit of final construction inspections go up in the next couple of months. We've already got quite a lot of appointments on the books for the end of June and then the beginning of July. So they are still busy with that. Everything else is as expected. I did want to report that the animal control, the animal encounters program is being moved to the clinical side of the house. So I went ahead and reported that number for you this month, but next month that'll be under a different section. Lindsay is going to be managing that for you guys now.
Thank you.
Any questions for Alexis? All right, we'll move into threat preparedness.
So currently with the threat preparedness, we are actually about to do I do believe we're due up for a fire drill. That's always a fun time. The task meetings right now are very minimal with what we're doing. We are, like I said, starting up for the new fiscal year to set us up, and hopefully I think me and Brandon other Brandon, have been working, and will be working towards actually creating a brand new program under the threat prep and really kind of building the foundations and building it from the ground up for, I think, this new, making it much our own. I don't know how else to say that. And making it a very, sound program.
If I could just add
By all means,
one thing
please.
into there, sorry, brain number three.
We'll get it sorted.
I also want to add that the Threat Prep grant we did get some well-needed equipment, the vaccine transporters, among other things. And we're looking to hopefully get all that pushed through very soon. And besides that, that's really all I wanted to add.
And that was, yes, we did get some much needed items that we need for, especially the upcoming vaccine clinics, things of that nature, that are rightly deserved and needed through our threat program, which was awesome.
Alexis, if you find a sanitarian named Brandon who wants to work here, hire him, and we'll get that sorted too.
Can we get a B1, B2, B3?
We're collecting them at this point.
Like thing one, thing two, just.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
Or you could just be Brandon R.
Yeah,
Brandon
and I'll,
W.
I'll take on Blake if you guys
That's what I
want to,
suggested.
just to make it a little bit easier.
I find it fun. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It can- If anybody's watching the meeting back, it could be. a
Yeah,
little-
yeah, I think it forces precision. Brandon, administrator.
Yes,
It's easy to call staff meeting. Hey, Brandon.
right, about 4 people show up, you know?
All right.
I
So
can't believe we just had this conversation and nobody said, let's go, Brandon.
I thought it.
Oh, Lord, sorry. A little political humor for the morning. We're going to move into the clinical activity report, please.
So for clinical activities, our numbers are staying not much to report in terms of difference. We're where we expect to be. We are ramping up for vaccinations in the coming months between childhood vaccines, flu. We're expecting in the next couple of months to start seeing some increased numbers. The one thing I did want to say is that with the new change in federal funding, family planning is most likely going away. So we will see changes that we'll be needing to make in our clinical services as we see things roll out through the state. I don't know what they look like yet, but we are still expecting it and trying to be prepared to figure out what we're gonna do here at the health department in terms of family planning program.
Thank
any
you.
ETA on when that's gonna happen, or it's still too soon to tell
Too
when?
soon to tell.
Okay.
The bill just rolled out, right, for the federal, so I don't know how long it's gonna take before the state comes back and has a say in everything, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to Dr. Reedy, Health Officer report.
So just following up on that, for all of the money that we get from the federal government that passes through the state, which is family planning, breast and cervical cancer screening, threat preparedness, CDC infrastructure grant, which is not even included in the upcoming budget because we don't know that that's going to exist. That's a 92,000 that
Yes, sir.
didn't even put in this year. The opioid response stuff with our QRT that could be up to 174,000 for the year or nothing, and then we can't continue to support that staff. So these are all unknowns, and no one at the state has an answer except kind of a guess whether it's going to be continued or not. The family planning program as a whole may disappear from the federal. They just may eliminate all funds. Until they do, we'll continue to offer as we do. The main purpose of the family planning program, which is a grant name, the Title 10, I believe, is that it does provide family planning or contraception care for people with low income. And if that's, it's changed a lot in the last couple of years, especially the last year, in that they expect anyone who has insurance, we should be billing their insurance now and not the family planning program. So if they have Medicaid, and we've been doing that, and our amount of money we're getting from that is exceeding the amount we're getting from the family planning grant. So the grant is becoming less and less a factor as far as our income. It's still very important in providing the supplies, which could be oral contraceptive pills or implantable, whether it's an IUD or something that's under the skin. So those are provided free for the clients, the patients. That would disappear. So that could create some problems for some people. But if they have Medicare or any private insurance, it's covered. We're enrolled with most insurance companies, and that's a big area that the front desk staff has done a great job in learning a lot of the tricks in doing the billing. And there are some little tricks there. The So we will continue to offer family planning or reproductive health services. It gets confusing for us when we say family planning. Do we mean the program, or do we mean the type of service? And one thing in our budget, a lot of the headings for the different titles of vaccination, other, can't really tell what's in that category, which is hundreds and hundreds of entries. And we're going to go through and try and rename some of those. So looking at it, you have a better idea exactly what that means. And just so that the budget's more obvious when you look at it, what we're reporting. The It's still a very important item for community health. We are trying to get certain vulnerable populations, and we especially think of those with substance use disorders who often have fairly chaotic lifestyles. A lot of the people there really do not want another child, and we're trying to help make our services accessible to that group for a lot of different medical care, including family planning, immunizations, and hepatitis C evaluation and treatment. We're working with the Pyramid Rehabilitation Center, and Dr. Gregory and I met with them recently, with their local director, and we're forging a stronger relationship of getting them to refer people to us, which helps both of us. I know that about 10 people right now that have received treatment for their hepatitis C, and takes a little while to know if they're cured or not, but the expectation is about 98% of the people who complete the treatment will be cured. So that's little areas at a time, but it can make a big impact. The we're, Threat prep involves so many different things the health department could be involved in. And among the community threat preparedness problems, one we recently had a regional tabletop exercise is drought, and all the things that can go with not having water, if your wells are dry, or we do not have a good monitor of where we stand on the water table right now. I know there's been discussion at the county commission. Alexis and I are also going to be talking with the people at American Water about whether there's a way they can keep us informed of where their I guess they have their recharge rates from their wells. They've got a lot of wells throughout the county. We otherwise don't have a good warning, except that, we didn't need to cut the grass for 3 weeks. We don't have a great warning of where we stand on the water table. And so we're going to try and get some unofficial way they're providing us with that data, so we know where we're coming. Because right now I'm not aware of any other monitor for that. And that would be working with the emergency management group as part of their local emergency planning. A lot of little things.
Must have been an interesting tabletop. Water's important.
Yeah, so, and with it, a lot happens and we get, so whenever there's a water outage, like in Bolivar or wherever, we start get people calling us saying they expect us to be bringing them water. It's not an unreasonable thing for people to wonder about if they're getting municipal supplies of water and they suddenly don't have it, is what do you do? And it's to suddenly pivot and have to do that. And in the past, you know, with big events, you suddenly have to get it brought in from somewhere else, and whether you deliver it to people, whether you have the big water buffalo trucks or carry behinds. You know, if it's a regional problem, they might not be available. They may all be rented out. So a lot of different things that, you know, if it happens here, it could also be a regional problem. And the region here may be different than the region of the rest of West Virginia. And certainly with the floodings, we see that we are not as prone to big flooding compared to the more mountainous areas. But lots to think about. Get involved in. And Lindsay's been doing very well in taking over the animal exposures. We see lots of issues. There was a case I had to talk with one of the senior epidemiologists at the state about an unusual exposure. And any mammal can have rabies, and we get about 300 bite or scratch incidents a year that we are involved in. Sometimes just looking at it and pretty much signing off, but other times actually talking with the people about you know, what's going on. Do they need treatment? So giving an additional opinion from the emergency providers. So we have lots of rabies in the Eastern Panhandle that's different than the rest of West Virginia in just that the way the East Coast raccoon rabies strain, which infects other animals, is predominant here, is very slowly moving west, just like Lyme did. 20 years ago, there was no Lyme in the rest of the state. Now the state's overrun with it. So we see more rabies in Jefferson County than most of the other areas. Not human rabies, fortunately, but that's the reason we're involved, to try and get people treated. That's all I have for my report.
Thank you. And then Brandon, Health Administrator Brandon.
Yes, ma'am. So the big thing on this report would be that you know, the county did close on the new facility. I did get to tour it along with our director of nursing, Lindsay. It's coming along. I met with the architects last month. They're going to make a design. We'll be hopefully seeing that this month as well. Kind of the layout of how they expect our facility after having that conversation. So that's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they lay it out. And because out of all of the offices there, I feel like we are the most time intensive to build and what we need in that facility. So it'll be very interesting to see how they lay it out for us, and I'm looking forward to that, obviously. Other than that, we are still going on strong with the LEPC meetings at the local region for emergency planning. Really all I have to report as far as anything new and exciting.
In regards to the new building,
Yes, sir.
I hope everyone attends. the christening, from Saturday, I think it's the 19th, 18th. I don't have my calendar in front of me.
It'll be the 19th.
19th.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I hope everybody comes, 2 o'clock. The ceremony is actually at 4, but there will be, treats and things for kids to do and, a little bit of razzle dazzle. So, I hope y'all can,
Excellent.
I've been working on, I get to christen the building.
Hey.
So I'm worried about, getting the bottle to break. Because I've seen videos of christenings where the bottle didn't break and it's really a mess. And we're not using champagne, we're using West Virginia moonshine. So. So
Melissa enjoys it.
this should be pretty interesting, so,
We'll make a meme out of you, Jack. If you don't break the bottle, we'll make a meme. It'll be instantly viral.
I know.
That would just go to the strength of the West Virginia moonshine. That's all that is.
I may use that. That's a good,
Nice spin.
but anyway, I hope y'all can attend. This is a big deal for the county. And, I do believe, at least from the numbers I've seen, we do have the monies to cover this in the coming years. I'm not particularly worried about that. I'm always concerned about big expenditures, but I think we're on the right path. And consolidating all of our services in 1 or 2 buildings is a big step forward. We're actually moving into the 20th century now. Oh, getting close to the 21st.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Yeah, one other little thing I forgot to mention, in September every year, there's a multi-state Save a Life Day program, which is that naloxone is distributed. That used to be a bigger issue a few years ago when naloxone was not very available or visible. Now you can get it all the time. You can get it without a prescription, but we still have an event every year, and we our peer recovery coach is responsible for organizing the Jefferson County response. So we'll have several booths set up throughout the county in different areas. If anyone knows area that they think it may be useful to have a booth set up where there's pretty high local traffic, talk to us about it. We had one place last year that there were maybe 2 people came up to it. We're not going to do that. Other places we know are very good. The opioid issue gets less and less headlines because the number of fatalities has decreased. It's still very high, so even decreasing it's a lot. The number of emergency services calls is there. Yesterday morning, there was an event in Baltimore, and that's where most of our drugs come from. So what happens in Baltimore can often happen here too, but there was an event where there were a fair number of overdoses in an area that they had 25 or more people that had to be hospitalized from it. I don't know details on what drug was involved, but this was being treated as a crime, but it's real and it's still there. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next meeting is scheduled for August 8th, same time, same place. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
is the video off?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Give it a second.
Recording.
Give it a second.
Let's get it.
Because, I do have a little